The town of Lismore faces yet another flooding crisis, with some locals told to prepare to evacuate as parts of regional NSW face a very dangerous 48 hours. Some of the 100 members of the Defense Force sent to Lismore, plus SES volunteers, were door-knocking those most at risk as the Wilson River rose. It's expected to peak at 9.7 meters tomorrow afternoon, a meter below the levy. But that barrier doesn't protect parts of South Lismore. Read more. There is just no help. Anger as river nears 100-year peak. A dozen rescue boats are also on hand. Mayor Steve Krieg said people who moved back to their homes after the deadly floods in February this year, having spent thousands on repairs, were at risk. Here we are faced with the same prospect, he said. Businesses in the town have also packed up stock in preparation. In other parts of the state, 20 communities remain under evacuation orders including parts of Marie, Dubbo, Narrandera-Gunnedah and Tamworth. Further south, Roxanne Eddy, from Moama in the Riverina close to the border with Victoria, was in tears as she described the floods lapping at her doorstep. "We can't leave the house because we've had looters coming around," she said. The latest warnings are listed here. Read more. Multiple states being battered by heavy rain. Premier Dominic Perrottet said major challenges remain for residents and emergency services. "We currently have over 120 warnings in place, and of those 120 warnings, we have 20 evacuation orders. The main areas that are under threat are the northern rivers." Perrottet said further rainfall predicted for Lismore and the Tweed was particularly concerning for authorities. He repeated calls for residents to resist driving through floodwaters because, as well as putting their lives at risk, it tied up resources of emergency services. "Yesterday we had someone drive through floodwaters who needed to be rescued by 20 emergency service volunteers," he said. Perrottet said NSW continued to face incredibly challenging flood conditions, but he thanked the federal government, the Defense Force, local councils and volunteers for working collaboratively to help communities. Emergency Services Minister Steph Cook said the state was facing a very dangerous 48 hours and there were flood risks all across NSW. Read more. Warning: Queensland floods just the start of intense weather system to lash state. What we are currently experiencing is more flood threats in more communities and locations than at any other time this year. At present, we literally have a flood risk in every corner of the state. She said authorities had set up a forward base camp at Marie in the state's north, with 150 emergency workers stationed there. Cook said extra resources, including Australian Defence Force personnel and helicopters, had been prepositioned for worsening conditions. "We have helicopters prepositioned, 100 ADF moving into the community. We have swift boat rescue teams prepositioned up there and ready to go," she said. Updated warnings for NSW. The SES has updated warnings for flood-affected communities. Residents in the following places should be prepared to evacuate by 9 a.m. tomorrow due to forecast rising floodwaters. In North Lismore, all areas north of Leicester Creek and the Wilsons River. In Lower North Lismore, homes in Winterton Parade between Pit Lane and the Wilsons River Pit Lane. In South Lismore, streets south of Leicester Creek and north of Hollingsworth Street including Meadow Drive and surrounds. Streets between Wilson Street and Ostrom Street. Streets between Casino and Newbridge Street. Union Street, Ballina Road, Feliz Road, Taylor Street, Norco Lane, Franks Street. The SES issued more than 120 warnings across the state, including 20 emergency warnings. They affected parts of Marie including Terry Hie, Narrandera, Gunnedah and Carroll Village, Moama and Cumaragunja, along the Murray River, Picnic Point, Mathor East, Murray Valley Regional Park between Moama and Baruga. More rain ahead. Widespread heavy rain and gusty winds are expected to move south today and tonight, with a flood watch current for the northern rivers and parts of the mid-north coast, Hunter and Greater Sydney catchments. There is a risk of dangerous and potentially life-threatening flash flooding for these areas as well as major riverine flooding. In Marie in the state's far north, the Mihai River peaked at 10.5 meters on Sunday morning, just below the 2012 flood level. Jane Golding from the Bureau of Meteorology said more rainfall was expected over inland areas of NSW and on the coast, and the northern rivers was the key area to be watching closely today and tonight. Golding also said developing weather systems would bring more rain over the coming 2 days. Read more. Man charged with murder after Queensland teen's body found in bushland. A severe weather warning is current for parts of eastern South Australia as well as western parts of Victoria and New South Wales. Rain and thunderstorms with heavy falls will spread across Victoria and New South Wales tomorrow, possibly leading to renewed river level rises across Victoria. A low-pressure system over South Australia and near the New South Wales and Queensland border is combining with a high-pressure system near New Zealand to direct humid tropical air across eastern Australia. Residents are advised to keep across bombs warnings as the system bears down. Queensland warnings can be viewed here, NSW here, Victoria here, Tasmania here and Western Australia here.